I teach culture and change in the graduate program at Antioch University and the Institute for Humane Education, and it is one of the core courses. Culture and change explores the ways cultural norms influence us, our beliefs, our actions, and how change making happens. We explore social psychology, consumerism, media, economics, politics, really whatever comes up for students throughout the different weeks of lessons and activities and resources, deepening their understanding of the ways we're shaped by our culture. We also look at cultural systems, conditioning, and strategies for educating about these issues. The goal of the course is really to become the most effective change maker we can be. And how we do that is by learning about ourselves. So, really growing in self awareness. How did we get to where we are in our thinking? What ideas do we have that we didn't have before? Things like that. Really digging into our own experience of culture and our own experience of change. And we do that in community because it is a discourse oriented course where we meet weekly and talk as a cohort each semester about these things and learn from each other and learn about ourselves and hear our own stories, hear other stories. And that really fuels our awareness of the root causes of the systems we're seeking to change and gives us the strategies and the experience to sustain the work. So it's both things, becoming an effective change maker and figuring out how to sustain that work, and in community. It's really beautiful how stories are told and heard in that course. I enjoy teaching this course because of how transformational it is. We talk about transformative and transformational learning, and this course is a real opportunity for that experience for students. Students will come to the discussions prepared, sometimes with a presentation, sometimes with a response to a resource, and you can just see the community coming together to support someone's either struggle with something or celebrate a discovery someone has made. So I feel like as an instructor, I'm really a guide and a witness. So that's what I love, that I love the students each semester. It's different every semester depending on who's there, and always really deep and meaningful. I have heard from students in culture and change about how impactful it is for them as a learner, that they appreciate the mindfulness piece, that I'm very mindful as a facilitator, as a witness, to make that brave space for people. I have heard from students that they learned about themselves more than they have before, even in therapy, was a recent note from someone. And I've heard from students about how they have learned to like hold and navigate difficult and complex topics, because of the intentionality of the course, which of course is a great skill to learn because the change making we do as humane educators is around difficult topics often. Yeah, witnessing the transformational learning is incredibly rewarding as an educator. What drew me to humane education was when I knew that I wanted to transition my career from 2 decades of working in chaplaincy with children. So I was in pediatric oncology and pediatric hospice and bereavement work. And I had been going into schools to teach about grief and loss in classrooms. And I was very intrigued by what I found in schools and wanted to study education. I don't mean that I found so much joy there. I mean that I found a concern about what I experienced as oppression, of students, of kids. And I was really surprised by that and talked to my own kids about it. What was it like for you in elementary school? Things like that. And so I knew I wanted to study education. Simultaneously, I was doing work with a therapeutic riding center just as a volunteer and really noticing the human animal connection. And so I first did the certificate program at U Denver around animals and human health. And in that program, I learned about humane education, that it was a thing. And I just felt intrigued and at home and curious. And so I joined the IHE graduate program to get my MED in humane education. I didn't know then I would become a classroom teacher, honestly. I thought I would work for a nonprofit or just use the skills I had, but I did end up going back to school again to get my teaching certificate and have now been in the classroom for 9 years as a humane educator and an elementary school teacher. And I'm continuing on now to get my EDD in humane education. I teach a course called Just Good Food, which came about this way. Um, Food issues are a perfect place to see the intersection of the different aspects of holistic humane education. Food issues, it's clear where there are human rights issues, where there are animal rights issues, where there are environmental issues, where there are cultural and systems and political issues. So I saw that as a place to kind of practice the content that was being learned in the core courses. So I created that course um, to give students a place to put what they're learning into context. So it is an elective. It is all about the different ways that food issues need to be solved, the different places, like the animal issues, the human issues, as I said. So yeah, students can apply the core courses around that one topic. I also teach a course called Creative Activism. That is a course that came out of my own personal experience as I was in the master's program, learning more about human rights issues and animal rights issues and environmental things. I did begin to feel a sense of despair that was real, and found my way out of it through writing poetry mostly and doing photography. My experience was that creativity is a bridge from despair to action. I had that phrase come up in my mind and then used that as the basis of my thesis. How is creativity a bridge from despair to action? How do artists see their work that way? And then really focused on what I was calling solution art, solutionary art, more than visual art or literary art, but really creative thinking. How do we think in ways that haven't maybe been expressed before when we see a real problem? Creative ways to find a solution. It is the solutionary model as well. But what I did in that development of that course is I interviewed many, many artists, asking them if they had that experience and what that was like and what they expect their work to do for the world. So in that course, it is not an art production course. It's a studying that concept of creativity helping us take action and move toward action, and looking at different artists who have done that. There are themes I see in all three of my courses around stories, how storytelling is such a powerful way to facilitate change, and around questions, how to ask questions that allow people to reflect and think critically about issues. It's very important to have good questions and let the people that are in front of us, whether they're students, whether they're people in the community that we are writing for or talking to, asking questions that allow them to think and consider. So we're guiding people and systems to change, not forcing one perspective, and helping people see the problem, the root causes. So in all of my courses, I see that coming up is how to do that. How do we do this? I understand the issues, people will say, but how do I reach other people? So yeah, storytelling, good questions, sincerity. Yes, I have seen changes in mindset and behavior. I'm going to focus on especially educators, soften and surrender to this way of educating for transformation. Some educators, many, are still conditioned by their teacher training experiences and their school experiences around the more of the banking system of education. And there is a letting go that needs to happen in order to make a change in someone's teaching as an educator. So I have definitely witnessed that letting go of that mindset and then allowing themselves to teach in this way that they're experiencing from our program. So when they're truly supported and they're unfolding, not being judged, but being nurtured and guided and allowed to unfold, they can bring that back to their school, their classroom, their community. So it's a little bit difficult to describe, but it's profound. And I do see that happening. What gives me hope at this moment, AI, which is something that is changing the world. I'm not naive about the cautions and the dangers, but I do feel that it's part of the hope. Information moves so fast, and I see there is information moving that is also about repairing systems that are so broken, about empathy, about issues that people don't see necessarily in their own community but are happening in the world. So with the ability to share information that way, if we harness that, we can change faster than we would have been able to without that. With more opportunities for information sharing, we can make change faster. We can tell stories. Also, I see hope in film. I think documentaries and films and short films are an incredible way to share these stories that need to be told and heard and just seen more widely.